Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Wilson, and this is your Vengeance Review. And at Vengeance, we saw some things that have never been seen before in WWE. But the first match of the night contained Ziggler. The second match of the night also contained Ziggler. Because first we had Zeke Swag, as I call them, facing Airboom. And once again, Airboom won, which I can't stand, but it's okay. The truth is, it's not that I don't like Kofi and Evan. I actually do like them, but I don't like the name Airboom. I think that name is silly and it just needs to be thrown out. And quite honestly, I think they need to start using the name Zeke Swag for Ziggler and Swagger. Because I made that name, and that would be awesome if they would use that name. But not awesome like The Miz, because that's not awesome. Sorry. Shouldn't have even used that word. So just use something different. But then we got to see Ziggler go one-on-one with Ryder. And in this match, Ziggler actually won. Which wasn't that surprising, except for the fact that Ziggler had just been beaten in another match. But just goes to show you that even after falling down, Ziggler still gets back up and keeps on going. And quite honestly, I have nothing against Ziggler. You know, I don't like Ryder. Ryder is one of my least favorite competitors. I don't think he deserves to be in the company. Ziggler, he's pretty good. I mean, he's not the greatest guy in the company, but still, he's a pretty good wrestler. So I'm okay with him. But then we got to see the match that I missed last pay-per-view, so I'm glad we got to see a rematch. It was Christian versus Sheamus, and I was actually glad at first to see a rematch, and then I was kind of like, okay, we could just let this match out of the pay-per-view, because it was boring. That was plain and simply it. I mean, it wasn't really that much of a back-and-forth match even. It was a lot more Sheamus than it was Christian, and it was just kind of dull to me. And really, the fact is that I really don't care for either of these two people. But Sheamus won, which was pretty well predicted already by most of the universe. Even people who are not in the WWE universe predicted that. But I think that Christian, first of all, I think that Christian just needs to quit. But if he's not going to quit, he just needs to go and wrestle some rookies or something. I mean, quit wrestling these guys who are way out of his league. And excuse me for twirling my headphones, that's a habit. Then we had Eve facing Beth Phoenix, which, you know, I was expecting to see Kelly come out with Eve and Natalya come out with Beth Phoenix, but that didn't happen because earlier in the day there had been a confrontation between Natalya, Eve, Beth Phoenix, and Kelly. And due to that confrontation, John Laurinaitis decided to ban the matches from ringside. So it was just one-on-one between Eve and Beth Phoenix. And although Eve has shown that she can compete with Beth Phoenix, you know, I don't think that it will ever be shown that she can beat Beth Phoenix. I mean, Beth Phoenix is just way too big for Eve. And by the way, it was the actual Beth Phoenix tonight, not like it. I think it was Night of Champions where they had a double of her. I can't really remember right now. But anyways, luckily it was actually her tonight, so she actually was able to come out there and win the match. And Eve, like I said, Eve gave competition, but she doesn't have what it takes to beat Beth Phoenix. And then Rose faced Orton in what I said in my SmackDown review should have been a 1-minute match. And quite honestly, if it was real life, it would have been a 1-minute match. But of course, they've got to make it good for the show. They've got to make a little bit of back and forth action, make a bagger jump up on the apron and distract Randy Orton, which, I mean, that is just completely stupid. You know, if that is the best storyline that they can give Cody Rhodes, is to have baggers help him out in matches, and it's like I said, he really just doesn't even need to be in WWE. The only reason why he has any fame whatsoever is the same reason why Ted DiBiase has fame. His father. which neither one of those two belong in the company. The only reason why they're in the company is because their fathers were both legends. But then started the stuff that we've never seen before, somewhat. Henry was going to face the Big Show. Now that puts nearly 1,000 pounds into the ring. And anyone who recalled Big Show facing Brock Lesnar years ago pretty much probably had a presumption about what would happen. Well, if you were guessing that the ring would break down, you were correct, because it did. Big Show and Mark Henry got out there. Mark Henry superplexed Big Show off the top rope, and the ring collapsed. That match was called off, and actually, it was to give you a little bit more insight about the match, it was a very even match. I mean, Big Show, I believe, actually had the upper hand slightly, but Mark Henry was staying in it. Mark Henry had actually been chokeslammed twice, one of those times off the top rope, and he was still in it, so I'd say that they were pretty evenly matched. But there most likely will be a rematch within a very near future, probably Survivor Series. But there was no winner tonight. It just they had to call the match off. Big Show was taken out of the ring on a golf cart because they couldn't fit him on the stretcher, and Mark Henry was helped out of the arena, even though he said that he didn't need any help right before falling flat on his face. So now we had a collapsed ring. The ropes were actually down in the middle of the ring. One of the turnbuckles had fallen off. I mean, it just looked horrible. And the worst part about it was there was still another match to come. So John Laurinaitis comes out there and he says that even though what just happened and the ring is like it is, we're still going to have what he wanted to happen. But that was a mistake. He said what he wanted to happen, and then he corrected himself and said what you want, not what I want. But it was pretty obvious that he had something planned from the get-go. So Cena faced Del Rio. Okay, let's go back a couple months. You looked on WWE.com, you saw a little story, I guess you could say, about John Cena and The Rock, both being at Survivor Series in the survival match. Okay. Now, it may have happened before, but I don't think it happens very often that the WWE Champion is in the survival match. So, pretty much I already knew that Cena was going to lose tonight. I didn't know how, but I knew he was going to lose, because the World Champion has to be in a separate match from the survival match, or else you just got one match instead of two. So, it was pretty obvious to me that Del Rio would win tonight, no matter what happened. But what did happen after a long, drawn-out match, including Del Rio slamming down steel screens onto John Cena. He slammed down, I think there were 4 of them, might have been 5. I don't really remember how many there were. But anyways, it was at least 4 steel screens down onto John Cena. I think I might have said Randy Orton earlier today. I'm sorry about that. But John Cena was able to get up through everything. And by the way, also during this match, if Ricardo Rodriguez has any cojones, he doesn't anymore. Because remember how I told you that turnbuckle was laying down in the middle of the ring? Well, he got thrown onto it. Balls first. Then, to make matters worse, Del Rio was thrown onto it and made it go up straight into Rodriguez's cojones. So, that pretty much took him out of the match. Although he did come back later and try to help out a little bit, but he's not a wrestler. He can't really help anything. But then John Cena, this was the very much injustice of the match. John Cena did the FU to Del Rio through the announce table on top of the steps because the turnbuckles were gone and you couldn't use the turnbuckles to do anything. And basically Del Rio was out long enough for a 15 count to have gone by. But what happened was Awesome Truth came down, and this is what I believe Laurinaitis had planned when he said, "What I want to happen will still happen." Awesome Truth came down, they started beating down John Cena, and the referee's attention was turned away from Del Rio and to the action in the ring. He wasn't counting Del Rio out, which should have been done. Instead, he waited until John Cena was also knocked out. Then he started counting. Del Rio got up first. John Cena still stayed down, but not after being hit over the head with the World Championship, even after he got up. So that was the end of the match. A lot of injustice in that match. However, like I said, you know, they've got to do it this way because Survivor Series is coming up next month, and John Cena is in the Survival match, so he can't be in the World Championship match also. It just doesn't normally happen that way. It may have happened before, I'm sure it has, but it doesn't normally. So, you know, you gotta think about the way that they're doing things. It's not just to piss you off, it's also because they have their own storylines. They gotta do that. It's their jobs. But basically, I'm ready to see what the Survival match is going to be all about. I mean, I've heard rumors. The first rumor that I heard was CM Punk having a team against Triple H's team. Now I've heard Vince McMahon's team against Triple H's team. And I mean, I don't know what the Survival match is going to be about. I've heard several rumors, but I'd like for them to tell me tomorrow night on Raw what the Survival match is going to be about. And I'm really looking forward to that. And speaking of Triple H, I actually did leave this out of the notes, so let me go back on this. Triple H and CM Punk faced The Miz and R-Truth. And Miz and R-Truth really had no chance, but fortunately there was a little helper out in the crowd. And can anyone guess that it was Kevin Nash who knocked out Triple H, pretty much leaving CM Punk alone with Awesome Truth, and Awesome Truth therefore was able to pick up the win. So Kevin Nash is obviously back, and we believe that Laurinaitis has hired him back. So that will probably be explained tomorrow night on Raw. And pretty much, also, I want to know what's going to happen between Henry and Big Show. I think that, honestly, they need to have a match without a ring in it. They need to just have an all-out brawl in the street. Because you're not going to break that down. Although, it is possible, it's just not very likely. So, I think they just need to have an all-out brawl in the street for the title. Because there is no wrestling ring that can hold those two. Alright, that is your Vengeance review, and I gotta say, Vengeance was actually pretty exciting. If I had to rate it on a level from 1 to 10, I would give it a 7. I mean, 7 mainly just because I've seen better, but it wasn't that bad, so I'm hoping that maybe WWE is turning around, maybe things can get a little bit more exciting, and hopefully this is that point. Alright, this has been your Vengeance review. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.